Hey, Garage Gym athletes, before we get started, I wanted to let you know we are upping our Instagram game so we can better educate the industry. The goal is to drown out the influencers in bro science that is social media. If you want to help, screenshot this podcast episode and tag us at Garage Gym Athlete and a friend in your Instagram stories. We'd love to connect, and we will even be sending some free merch to a select few who actually take us up on this 15-second task. So go get it done, and I look forward to connecting with you. All right, now to the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with two fellas. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Hi.
Tramp, so you recovered, man?
Yeah, pretty much.
If you haven't heard, Trampus got like an angry appendix that just like wanted to charge out of his
Septic,
body.
dysentery, all the Oregon Trail things.
But I think you're back.
I'm
You look
back.
healthy.
I'm
some
back.
Nice color in the face, more than
I'm
mine had.
back. I'm back until they have to take it out next week.
Right. They just calmed it down.
Yeah. So
They
it
tamed the
was severely infected. So they just calmed it down, made it healthy, and now they're going to take it out
and
so
kill
that it
it.
doesn't happen again. Yeah.
Do you get to keep your appendix?
I have no idea. I was hoping I'd lose like a lot of weight. I was hoping it was like a big.
I think it's a solid 4 ounces or something.
I think it's
You know,
What do you?
I would totally ask for it like in a jar of alcohol or something, and like
What would you do with it?
I would put it. I'd actually put it right here behind.
Put it right here.
I'd put a shelf behind me and display my appendix that almost killed me. It'd be like a lesson for anything else or anyone who wants to ever try and kill me. I will put you in a jar of alcohol. In my office.
Rip you out of my body if I have to and kill you.
So great. We're getting off to an amazing start here. Well, I'm going to postpone Trampus for a minute. Go to Joe. Joe, how's life, man? How are things?
Good. Getting into routines. I think I'm realizing what my happy place is when it comes with training, whether training time and amount each week. I think I'm hitting my solid 5 days per week, and then realizing that I think 5 is like optimal for me. 4 is like my bottom baseline. If I only get 4 per week, then it's like I might not be super happy about it, but 5 is awesome. And then I like to do like a 6th, whatever, like outside, some sort of activity day that might not be exactly a strenuous training session, but and Travis might talk about his. I think we did the math, and I don't think I'm gonna make the 300. I think I would have to have like train every single day.
You're both out, right?
Yeah. I could only take like 5 rest days for the rest of the year in order for me to get it. And I already know. Well,
it's almost September.
I have trips planned. I know there's going to be travel days. It's fine. So we are going to Club 280. Trampus and I, just party of 2.
Club 2. I thought that was a real place. I was like, is that in like
yeah,
the
no,
Bahamas
it is
or something?
Yeah, Club 280.
Sounds super like legit.
Very exclusive, invite only party.
Yeah,
just us.
Because like I'll hit 200 in like 5
next
days.
week.
Yeah.
I guess you can take the rest of the year off.
Well, I probably won't do that. But there's so after that surgery, according to this doctor, which I've gotten a second opinion from our own resident GGA doctor, but he said that I couldn't lift more than 5 pounds for 3 weeks after the surgery. And I'm like, I don't own anything that weighs less than 5 pounds. I think
you can't go to a buffet.
There's nothing I can do. So
I feel like that's just like standard advice. You know,
very gutter, safe on the safe side, the super safe side.
Yeah, so like doctors like to cover their butt. You know.
Yeah, I've heard from others 10 to 15, 15 to 20. It just depends.
You're strong, at 5%.
That doesn't mean you can't train though. Like can you walk?
I know. I can walk.
If you're allowed to walk, the doctor says that you can, then you can walk. And because you got your appendix ripped out of your body, that is an acceptable training session for the day. Otherwise, maybe not. But for a given situation, given person, walking is a great training session.
Depends how much they slice you. Because when I had my when I had my hernia, they told me like, oh, it's only like a half an inch. Like it'll just be fine. You'll be fine. And then I wake up and it's like a 3-inch gash. Like they had some medical student come in and just like practice on me. Like, no, I'm not a cadaver, man. But, and like, I legitimately, it was really hard to even sit up for like 2 weeks because they tore open my abs. So like, that's definitely a like, it depends on how much they cut you. And, you know, doing it laparoscopically, they shouldn't do that much. So you might be able to bounce back. And like, even the fact that we train more, it's easier to bounce back. Like, and this is, I guess, along the same lines is Liz had a C-section and her recovery is like way faster than most people because like her abs and everything else was really strong and she knew how to like and just being all the training that she's done, like she was her doctor cleared her to go back to working out in like 8 weeks and was moving the couple of days afterwards because she just just training.
From what I understand, it'll be 3 small holes, but they do have to cut through the abs at some point to get back there. So we'll see. I mean,
you guys are acting like I haven't had my abs cut through before. I mean, come on.
I don't know your life.
Well, I definitely have. There was like an incident in the Air Force that ripped me out of an aircraft, and so I was no longer allowed to do those things, and had massive surgery because of it. So yeah, I got similar news from the doctor though. He was way cooler than the average doctor though. I was like, "When can I deadlift again?" He's like, "It should be fine," and I was like, "I don't feel like I'm ready. Like, are you sure?" And he's like, "All right, 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks." I'm like, "This is a big cut." Like you're saying, Joe, like all the way through the muscle. Like he's like, "Yeah, you're fine." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." So, you know what I did? I walked.
I mean, I'll definitely walk.
There we go. That's all I needed.
There's no
That's
way.
all I was looking for, Trampus.
Well, no. I mean, I was walking in the hospital, like the day of the rupture. So I mean, I'll definitely walk. I don't know that I'm gonna. I don't know. I had this idea that it was gonna be 300 calories per session, and that's sort of my standard. But I know these are extenuating circumstances, but maybe I can get to 300 calories.
This was my only update I had, and I thought it was cool. I've been trying to get more flexible, okay? And I've been experimenting with different routines. That's not one of our programming strong points. We provide some like basic mobility in a workout, but we're not really the people who do that. And I really wasn't a fan of the popular ones anymore anyway, like Ramwad. It's like, I really feel like they do like the same 2 to 3 stretches, like, and that's it. Like if you got those 3 stretches that they do, you can just do them. Just sometimes do it for 5 minutes, sometimes do it for 2 minutes. Like that's it. But I found this gymnastics routine online where they're trying to get you to be able to do splits. I don't want to actually be able to do splits. Okay. But I was like, you know what? I guarantee this is going to be a good stretch. I burned 269 calories in a 40-minute gymnastic stretching routine just trying to do the splits. It was super painful, and I was sore the next day. Sore from stretching. You ever been sore from stretching? I think that was my first real time ever being sore from stretching. Yeah. So it's possible. I don't know if I'd recommend aggressive stretching with what you're going through, but hour and a half walk, 2 hour walk can only help recovery calories. Anyway.
Yeah. 300 calories, bleed to death, whatever.
Well, I actually need to start stretching a lot more because of my back and my hips and stuff. I just feel like I'm a lot tighter than normal. So like today, I think I did like a 20-minute warm up, just going through a bunch of different mobilities, different stretches, certain spinal stuff, some hip things, and then a little bit of stretching like in between sets. So I think I just need to add that more regularly to my routine, at least have one specific day where I just do like a really long mobility session warm up, exaggerated warm up, and then go lift.
Yeah, man. I think since we're going down this rabbit hole, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I do think there has to be a stimulus, something that challenges you in any part of your training, whether that's running a little bit at an uncomfortable pace to start to build a little bit more aerobic threshold. Same with strength training. If we're only ever doing the weights we can lift easily or the pace we can handle easily, we're not actually going to make that progress, right? And I don't know why that never really clicked for me for stretching until the last couple of weeks, because I felt the same way as you, Joe. Like I had that back injury. I don't know if it's been like a year and a half or whatever, 2 years, something like that. But I've recovered from it, but I just recovered from it like over time. Naturally, I didn't really do a lot for it. I tried to, but none of it seemed to work. And then I was like, when I was doing stretching, like if I did Ramwad or I did my own thing, it was in that point of comfort to where I was just like, I can do this stretch. It doesn't really hurt. But when I first started ROMWOD, like the first ROMWOD session I ever did, like years ago, it was just like pain. It was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. And then I became really flexible, a lot more flexible. I could do a lot of the stuff. And then before that, all I did was like free stuff from Kelly Starrett when it was Mobility WOD from his free YouTube videos. And again, those are so painful. Like a lot of them, like I couldn't hold a squat for 5 minutes. That felt like an impossibility. But I was able to work through that. It hurt. I did it. Same with ROMWOD. Now those things aren't challenging anymore. And then that's when I was like started to do a little bit of research, and I was like, who are the most flexible human beings on the earth and also pretty strong? Gymnasts. I was like, I'm gonna go see what kind of routines they got on YouTube that I can check out. And yeah, those definitely push me. Those so that's my new place. That's my new resting spot for stretching. I try to do one crazy stretch session per week these days, and then other than that, just like you're saying, like 7 to 10 minute warm up with some mobility in it. I think we're good on updates. Anybody have like something pressing they want to? Yeah, let's dive into some scary ass science then. Fragmented sleep accelerates tumor growth and progression through recruitment of tumor associated macrophage and TLR4 signaling. All right, everyone got that? All right, here we go. Here's what we're talking about today. We're talking about how poor quality sleep can lead to cancer growth, or poor quality sleep can speed cancer growth. And they talk about some of the signaling mechanisms behind that. That's pretty interesting. I don't know how far we want to dive into those things because we're not medical students. And even if you had every single like TLR4, all this crap, what would you do that information? And so, and the biggest thing I have to hit on here, I'm not going to go over as much as I normally do with like what they did and all that stuff. If you guys want to mention that stuff, feel free. Like whatever your takeaways were is 100% fine with me. But it was an animal study, so it was done on mice. All right, so I'm not a fear mongerer. Like that's not why I'm doing this. I'm not like, hey, if you don't sleep, you're gonna get cancer. I also don't think you should worry about it to that level. But I do think it's interesting research that kind of shines some light on how important sleep is, and maybe a bigger reason you don't want to take that I'll sleep when I'm dead approach, sleep 4 hours and pretend like you're a person who only needs 4 hours. Have you ever met somebody who doesn't sleep that much and them actually like admit that maybe they need more sleep? I've never once met that person. It's always been like the person who I meet who sleeps 4 to 5 hours a night, every single time without fail, they inform me about how they don't need more sleep than that. And I'm like, well, research says that's like 5% of the population if you're lucky. And it's like every person I find who doesn't sleep that much, you're in that 5%. Like I don't know if we're winning the lottery that often. You know what I mean?
I think they just have to convince themselves so much that that's why. So like after a while of just not getting much sleep, they're just like, you know what? Maybe I'm just fine with this. And after a certain amount of time, they're like, yeah, I'm functioning. I can go and do my job. I can go do this and I'll be fine. And yeah, I'm tired at the end of the day, but I'm fine. So if they're functioning, to them, it's like, yeah, that's all I need. But if they don't really like measure like we have and really like think about it and try to get more sleep and see what the difference is, then they might not realize it.
And so this is coming from a guy who used to do that. So just so everyone is aware. I don't think I tried to pretend necessarily like I was that person. I was just like, I'm busy. I have a lot of things to do. I don't sleep that much. But now I do. I sleep a lot more. And I think that it's really important. And I do think, to your point, Joe, one of the biggest things I noticed, so this is anecdotal, not scientific, but I wouldn't wake up at like 4 a.m. and feel super tired, right? You get so used to it that you're fine. But the biggest difference for me isn't necessarily more energy like during my work day or like during my workout. I don't get tired at night, like when I sleep enough. Like when it's time for me to go back to sleep, I'm tired enough to go to sleep, but I'm not exhausted. When I used to wake up at like 4 to 5 a.m. And going to bed much later, only getting a couple hours of sleep, I'd be fine throughout the day. But then when it came to like 9 p.m. or even like 8 p.m., where I'm like still trying to interact with other human beings, I was almost useless. I was so tired. And I just told myself like, well, you worked hard, you worked out, like this is it. That's fine. But found out you can still do all those things and have plenty of energy at the end of the day when you get more quality sleep. All right, so let me just hit up a few points from the study, and then you guys, whatever you have. So poor quality sleep can speed cancer growth, increase tumor aggressiveness, and lower the immune system's ability to eradicate early tumors. So animals had their sleep disrupted for 7 days, and they formed tumors that were twice as large and aggressive compared to animals that had normal sleep. All this really did was tell you about a possible mechanism about how fragmented sleep decreases a type of immune cell called tumor-associated macrophages, which eliminate cancer cells. Additionally, the fragmented sleep increase another type of immune cell that suppress the immune response and instead promote growth of new blood vessels, which engorges tumor growth. Man, so scary. So much crap happening there. And again, we're not scientists, but we think sleep can help in any realm. So what'd you guys pull from the study? And then we could just talk about kind of sleep in general.
Yeah, I was kind of curious as to, like, they were pretty vague on what the the interrupted sleep was. I didn't know what exactly they were doing, how often they were waking them up. Like, what were they shining lights? Were they just like it just said that it mimics certain sleep disorders, and that was it. So I don't really know what that meant.
They spent
If
more
you,
time letting you know that they did not go outside of any of the parameters of how animals should be treated. Like, I'm like, well, you gave it cancer. Like, like
we're
And
past
in
that
the
point.
end, it was euthanized. Like,
you're right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why you guys are trying to, like, you gave it cancer. Yeah. Then you killed it. So why not? Why did you like really spend paragraphs telling us like, we didn't do anything. We didn't poke it with a knife to wake it up. Like, come on, we're not mean. It's like, well, okay. Like, thanks
Yeah.
for all that info.
So I'm not really sure how they did that. And I'm over here with going on 5 months now of fragmented sleep with a baby, thinking, well, am I going to get like large tumors?
Well, see,
um,
and that's what I think is one thing that we need to hit on. I do think the body is really resilient, and so I don't think these things happen. Like sleep isn't
yeah.
your only factor, right? Um, I read a lot of like background information on the Why We Sleep book by Matthew Walker, and then there was this guy who wrote an article that like let's call it debunked the book. He didn't debunk it, by the way. He just like pointed out some inconsistencies and stuff. Like you can't debunk sleep. It's like the dumbest article. Anyway, and I was curious. I was like, why did you write this? Like, why would someone be anti-sleep? It doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you try to debunk a book that's like saying you should like drink water? It's like what you know.
Mhm.
And so, anyway, he actually ended up explaining it, and he said the reason he wrote it is because he got a lot of I don't know if he's a doctor or something else, but like he got a lot of patients um, that read that book and then came back like terrified because they don't sleep that well. And if you read Why We Sleep, you'll have about 400 different reasons on why you think you're dying and things are going to be bad. So I don't want that to happen for anybody listening to this today, but it is something that you probably want to start focusing on.
so yeah,
Yeah. And
they gave the rats cancer. And that was going to be one of my points. Is like sleep is super important for your immune system, but like you need to really work on not getting cancer as well. And there's
Yeah,
so many other ways to do that, like or the things that you need to be doing to try to avoid getting it. Um, but
100%. Because if you would know, it's not like if your immune system's starting to tank, stage one is cancer. I mean, I hope not, right? Like, I think that you'd notice, like, hey, I'm getting less sleep than normal, and I normally get maybe one cold a year. I'm getting 4 colds a year. Like, I think you'd notice little things like that before the immune system just completely breaks down and boom,
yeah,
cancer. I do think cancer can happen to anyone at any time, but some are more avoidable if you drink less alcohol, sleep more, sun exposure, smartly, don't smoke. Those are like the big ones, right? For avoiding most types of cancers. But there are a lot that just seem to can't be avoided and might just be environmental.
yeah, and stuff I didn't mention, like with sleeping, a lot of things what we do with sleeping is tracking heart rate. So like if they weren't tracking any heart rate, and like people when you're sleeping, if your heart rate's not getting down, then that means something's going on with your body anyway. So there's something wrong there, and could tied to your sleep quality. And all of these sleep disorders that they mentioned, like sleep apnea, they're a symptom of a larger issue that you already have. So like sleep apnea is tied with obesity and such. And so like you might be getting bad sleep, and you can work on getting your better sleep so that you don't get you so that it doesn't like just it's almost like a domino effect or a snowball effect where it just gets worse because your sleep is bad. But then if you're just working on the original issue, like for obesity, or going back to that, then that's might in turn help your sleep and then help so many other things all the way around.
Yeah.
I did think it was wild just how like in whatever how long the study was, like 28 days, how drastically different though the tumors were in that picture. If you look
Hmm.
at that picture, just how I mean they were what 3 4 times the size
Yeah.
of the mice that were getting sleep. So like I mean if you're and this goes into another point of mine. So at the hospital, my little hospital stay the 2 days ago, I think I told you all in the group, I was woke up 3 times for different reasons in the middle of the night. And not and it's not to hate on the employees because they're literally just doing what like the standard is or like the state's like laws, I guess. But it was for like checking my vitals and giving me some like like a ibuprofen type pain medicine and refilling my fluids. And it was 3 different times through the night. Well, by the third time, I was up for an hour trying to go back to sleep. And it's never made sense to me when you got these people that are sick in the hospital and they're constantly getting woke up and there's beeping and there's lights on. And I know they have reasons for doing all that, and I guess a lot of people are sleeping during the day too, but it was just wild to me that our health care system is constantly berating you in the middle of your sleep.
That's how it was with the baby. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, just try and get some sleep. I'll be back in 45 minutes to turn the lights on and poke you with things, and then I'm gonna make the baby cry and all these things. But try and get some sleep. Like, all right,
Yeah.
cool story, bro. We're gonna try and leave the hospital a day early now.
Yeah. That gets like, so by baby number 3, I was pretty like irate. So we, number one, we had in a hospital. First baby we had in a hospital because of insurance. Second one, we were still on military health insurance, but we couldn't get a birth approved, but we got a birth center birth approved, which is basically like someone else's house. It's really not that crazy like a birth center. And the just between those two, night and day difference about how much more enjoyable the actual experience is between the hospital stay, which I've done twice, where they're like, yeah, waking you up all the damn time, poking and prodding the baby, versus like the baby's just there. They're like, I get some rest, do whatever, leave whenever. Like it was just so much different. And so yeah, when we had the third, again, we got like we were living in North Carolina, we got in a fight, so we couldn't do a home birth or anything like that. So we ended up at the hospital again, and I was like, we're leaving. Like, you ready, babe? Like, you feel good? She's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, let's go. We got out of there as soon as we possibly could
I
because we
remember,
knew we
yeah,
would just be better at it at home.
so with number two, it was later in the day, and then we ended up staying basically the whole second day, and it was probably 9 o'clock. So, and we lived an hour away from this hospital, and they asked us, and they assumed we were staying another day, but she was clear to go, like good to go, and they asked us, I was like, no, we are getting out of here, and we left right then and there. As soon as she was good to go, we left, and that was probably the best decision we made, just
Yeah, get some sleep,
in our own
right?
place,
It's
yeah.
like, yeah. So yeah, fragmented sleep is awful. Um, do your best to avoid that. And we are going to talk a lot more. That's kind of the topic today of getting into sleep. I don't think there's much else to take away from the study because again, it seems like if you already have something bad going on, fragmented sleep to an extreme level is really bad for tumors, and there are a lot of reasons. It can suppress the immune system, engorge them by growing new blood vessels to them, which is freaking crazy, and all sorts of crazy stuff. So don't fragment your sleep. Don't get too little sleep. It's really important. And I think the bigger thing to focus on again is the immune system. If you want a healthy immune system, things that we've just picked up from doing studies, reading books, sounds like exercise is an important one for a good immune system. Maybe, right? Healthy diet, healthy gut seems like a huge one, and then sleep. So, those are like 4 points to hit on for a healthy immune system. And I think that that's really what everyone should be aiming for to some degree, because too much aggressive exercise can suppress the immune system. So, you want to stay away from that as well. But we can, unless you guys have anything else in the study, or we can move to like
Nope.
talking about sleep a little bit more. Hey, quick break here. As you know, we will not accept sponsors on this podcast. We want to keep it content focused and just deliver the best we can to you. So, if you think this podcast is worth listening to, can you do me a favor and share it with one friend? I don't care how you share it. You can text it to a friend, Instagram, DM, email, or even snail mail, but I can't reimburse you for that stamp. Look, the best way for a podcast to continue to grow is word of mouth. So if you can share this episode with at least one person, I would be forever grateful. All right, back to the show. All right, you've probably heard us talk about sleep a number of times if you've been around this community at all. But I'm a big proponent of one is none. Like, if I've told you once, I've told you no times. So I'm going to tell you 100 times, and eventually maybe it will start to stick. And who knows where you're picking up your journey with us at Garage Gym Athletes. So we think sleep is super important. A life-changing book for me was Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker. I had heard it was very important, and then once I read that book, I was like, oh, yeah. And it actually changed a couple years ago from me doing a disciplined morning routine and waking up to work out early, anywhere between 4 a.m. and 5:15 a.m. It ranged over the years, to doing those things, but also going to bed late. Because I don't think there's anything wrong with waking up early if you're going to bed early, to not doing that and to sleeping in much, much later. Now I wake up at like 5:45, 6 a.m. And so it's not that much later. What I actually fixed and adjusted more so was trying to be in my bed at 9 o'clock at night, which was also an adjustment free. I used to stay up to like 11:30 sometimes and then like wake up at 4. And like, that's just trash. So we're going to give you our 5 best topics or tips for getting sleep, the most effective strategies we found. The first one, temperature. What do you guys do to regulate your body temperature while you sleep?
We all have fancy chili pads, or
You have
which
one
one do you
too,
have?
Trampus?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Forgot.
We have
I do remember that.
the Uller or something.
Yeah, I got the Uller. I
Yeah.
got lucky. There was one like for sale on Facebook Marketplace, and they'd used it like 3 times and got rid of it for
I always say
a fraction of the price. I don't care if
Yeah.
they used it 100 times.
It saved a lot of money.
It was
Yeah.
very clean, and it was a fraction of a new one. But
We actually all 3 have something different. Joe has a original OG chili pad. Trampus has the Uller. I have the new Doc Pro chili pad, and then I like to mention my dad has the 8 Sleep one because that's 4 different ones, and we have no Allegiance. So there we go.
There's
Pick your cooling device. They're all very expensive, and they're all very worth it. So one way. Another great way to adjust your temperature is your thermostat in your house. I know it's a crazy thought, but
I like mine cool. So what's interesting about my wife though, so we got the one that does both sides, and like she won't even use it during the summer. She uses it during the winter, and she eventually, like through the night, it needs to become cooler. But in order for her to go to sleep, her bed needs to be warm. So it's kind of interesting. She'll sit there and she'll freeze to death. There's no way she's coming over to my side because I have it on max cool, like all the way down. But she needs it to like kind of change through the night because she will wake up hot, but you can't.
Does the Uller do that or no?
Yeah, it'll do it. Yeah, you can.
It'll change throughout the night.
You can schedule it to change. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how the Doc Pro works as well. Yeah, that's what I used it for a while. The Doc Pro had that feature where it can like start and then it can like change, and then it can even do this thing called Heat Awake, which is an amazing alarm clock. Like, because it switches it to max temperature, which is like 105 degrees or something. I wake up instantly. Like the second, it doesn't even get to 105. Like it gets like 85, and I'm like up. And I won't stay in the bed because the bed's all hot now, and I hate hot beds. So like,
I did that.
Alarm clock.
I did that too because the Uller will do that one, but like, I don't even need that. Like, I just have it turn off, and it turning off wakes me up on its own. So,
see, mine's old school to where
You put it
If
on
I forget to turn-
55 and it's just
Yeah.
let it
If I
ride.
leave and forget to turn it off, I'll come back upstairs and it's still on and running. Like, okay, cool. Well, I guess I'll turn it off now.
Left that on for 3 days. Oops.
Yeah.
No,
If
it's a
you,
nice.
yeah,
Sorry, it's a nice
cool.
little surprise because I have it set at like 9, so it's always cold when I'm always happy when I get in my bed.
The
But
auto
go
on
ahead.
is nice
Yeah.
because it takes a while to get going.
Uh,
Yeah, the cooler the room is, we don't, though in Monterey they don't have AC here, so
You don't have an
for a
AC in your
while,
house?
no, because it doesn't get hot enough here, like rarely. However, the sun still heats the house up and it
Oh,
still
yeah.
makes the upstairs warm. So on the hotter days when it is hot, like the upstairs would get pretty friggin' warm. Like we're talking about 80 some degrees. There's been a few days where we have to stay downstairs for a while before we can go up. But we got these window fans that can either pull air out or bring air in, and that was a game changer. And now we have those on all the time to where it's like if it does get too hot, then I'll have it blowing the hot air out of the top of the house, and then once the sun starts to set more, because every night it's still dropping into the 60s or the 50s, really actually mostly in the 50s. Then I'll have that cool air bringing in, so then throughout the night that air is bringing in the cool air from the outside, and yeah, our room stays nice and cool because of that, and we have a ceiling fan. And the cooler that it is, the more like I love to be bundled up in blankets, but I need to be cool, and that having that weight on you, like we haven't gotten we haven't tried out the weighted blankets yet. I want to, but that kind of goes hand in hand to me with being cool, because that sort of compression on top of you helps to just sort of a soothing type of relaxing thing to do, but you need to be cool in order to do that. You can't just like have a bunch of blankets on you and burn up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you need an AC.
that's
Well, I mean, they don't
crazy.
have them here, so it's just
There's no
happening.
way.
There's only
Well,
been a
what's
few
funny
days
is
where it's been like really hot.
I've been to a lot of places and even lived in some where this is the case. Canada, New York, Vermont, Idaho, where they're like, you don't need AC here. Don't worry about it. There's always been an instance where I'm like, it's 96 degrees. You didn't expect this, did you? Like, and it's always an issue. But who cares being a little bit of hot? That's just crazy. I didn't think that'd be. I know California is like whatever, but
Whatever.
Yeah.
don't do what Joe's doing unless you want to get a chili pad. No, I think chili pad and thermostat are the best way. So regulating your sleep temperature is huge, and it will help you sleep a lot better. I used to wake up every night just with no covers on me and drenched in sweat.
Yep.
Every single night.
Every
That was
every
my
night.
summer. Didn't really matter what we did with the thermostat, to be honest. And now I sleep with my covers like up to my chin because I'm basically cold all night because of the chili pad. So I think we've sold enough of those cooling devices over the years without any kickback. So go buy one and don't give us any kickback because we don't want it. All right. So the second one is light in general terms. So we're talking about light in a lot of different ways. So avoiding blue light, dim lights at night, and morning sunlight. So Joe, you want to hit on the blue or the dim or both of those?
Yeah, we got special light bulbs for the bedside tables, and we will only turn one of those on. We won't turn on the ceiling light for the like a warmer light bulbs when we're first getting ready and getting to bed. But once we get into bed and get settled, those lights go off. For the longest time, we never had we had a TV in the bedroom, but we never turned it on. We would just put on some sort of like noise or like ambiance music on our phone. But we got us a very small TV in there just to put on like YouTube, because YouTube has like ambiance type stuff you can do, but you can put it on like a really dark screen, and that's it. So our bedroom is dark. The only light that really comes in is through the windows. It's like the street lights come in just enough to see to go to the bathroom, and that's about it. But that's like once we can move out upstairs, we go upstairs probably an hour and a half, at least an hour, probably an hour and a half before we're actually like rolling over to go to sleep. So like there's go to bed and then there's go to sleep. And we have about 60 to 90 minutes before we actually go to bed, to where we're surrounded by dark lights, no blue lights, not really anything stimulating the eyes, so that your brain and you just really prepare to go to sleep.
And you can wear blue light blockers as well. That's a good if you can't control that as much, like if you're in an environment that you can't control, like your house, if you're somewhere else, a hotel or whatever, You can grab some blue blockers. One thing I like to hit on with blue blockers, it's funny. This has happened to me like 3 times over the years. Like I'll at a Zoom call with like some marketing guy last week, and he has the very obvious blue blockers on when we get on this call. Well, this is not a nighttime call. This was like 11 a.m. And he's wearing them. I try not to talk about him. I like don't want to mention anything, but he asked me because he knows he's like health and fitness. He asked me what my opinion on the brand was or something, and I was like, I don't really know. But I was like, but you shouldn't wear them all day. And he's like, what? And I was like, blue light blockers can actually like lead to depression if you block too much blue light or bright light, like in the morning hours, the daytime when you should be getting that light in your eyes. It can lead to depression. It's been studied. And he's like, oh. It takes them all. I'm like, you wear those like 12 hours a day, don't you? And like, I want everybody to know that because I feel like it should come with a disclaimer. I told my brother that, and he's like, oh, well, I wish I wouldn't have gotten blue light blockers like built into my prescription lenses that I have to wear, and then we've had team members do this and I've explained it to them. And it's like you heard something, like maybe you watched like an Instagram clip, but you forgot the research side to go actually look into it a little bit more. And just like maybe cautionary tale on all things that you might take or learn from Instagram. There is like another element to that. Like make sure that you do a little bit more research when you're doing that. So blue light, I think, is huge to block at the appropriate times, but it's really not until much later in the evening that it becomes necessary.
I mean, the sky is blue for a reason.
Yeah, that's what I'm like.
It's like to keep you awake.
When it's still bright outside, which in the summer in Texas, like it's bright till like 9 p.m. I don't really worry about it because I'm like, if humans can handle that, I can handle this. Like,
sure,
a couple lights on in my house or whatever, but that does change throughout the year, right? And I haven't done as much research on it, but it seems to be a lot more. I've seen a lot more content on it. Is this morning sunlight like helping set your circadian rhythm and all this stuff? I think I've kind of done that naturally by trying to go on a walk in the mornings, and I don't really wear sunglasses until like much later in the day and stuff. So getting that natural light in your eye is supposed to be really good for helping set your circadian rhythm and sleeping better at night as well.
I mean, I will say, like, that morning sun is huge for us. Like, we're definitely morning people. Like, if I had to pick sunrise or sunset, I'm definitely on the sunrise side. But a lot of California, especially on the coast, is very gray in the morning. You get a gray haze because of, I don't know, what the temperature changed because it's cooler. So a lot of the gloomy mornings, we're just like, we drag on gloomier mornings versus if it's like bright, sunny, and shiny in the morning, and we're like, all right, we're ready to go. But the gloomy days, we're just like, I don't want to do anything. It's just gross outside. I'm not motivated because there's just not that sun. It's just overcast and nasty.
They're supposed to, like, these lights you can buy that are like actual UV lights that you can turn on to get like that morning sun. Now, it's actually geared for and marketed to people who live like in Alaska, not California. Right. So don't go crazy with the biohacking equipment. Like if you really need it, if you live in that like area, like maybe Seattle or Alaska, something like that.
Blue blockers in the bedroom, and then those UV lights in the office, just to wake.
You never have to leave. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I don't need any natural sun. So that's number 2. One more tip on the blocking the light. Like I know MacBook or Apple does this. You can schedule all that night shift stuff now on like all your devices. So your computer screen will go orange, your phone can go orange, and so it blocks a lot of that blue light for you by removing it out of the display. 3 is consistency. This is a big one. Trying to go to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time every single day. I think that this helps more with your sleep quality than people realize. Because if you're only ever trying to get 8 hours of sleep, but you're like, okay, tonight's 11, I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep. Tomorrow night's 9, I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep. The consistency isn't there. You're not going to pick up on a consistent schedule and actually get the amount of sleep you need in the sleep window that you have set forth. So consistency is huge. Going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time. Are you guys fairly consistent?
Yeah, I mean the kids help be consistent just because you got to get them in bed. So we know.
What time do you go to bed?
About 9:30. I'm usually in bed, and then I'm asleep by 10 for sure. Pretty much every night.
Joe, how about you?
I've been consistent for decades, honestly. Like even back in like high school, I started going to bed at the same time just because I knew I wanted some sleep. Now the weekends it was all trash and just whatever. But now, like for the past few years, Liz and I keep our consistent schedule through the weekend and everything. So it doesn't matter if we don't have to wake up the next morning. We still keep our bodies, our sleep, our going to bed early at the same time. We still wake up at the same time on the weekend, so that when Monday rolls around, you're not like surprised and jarred, when everybody has the case of the Mondays, or you just can't get moving because you stayed up for 2 nights before then. You're completely jacked up. So keeping your schedule through the weekend would help a lot as well. It makes a big difference, especially for that starting off the week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just a quick story. Last week, I had to go down to Orlando and watch a concrete pour from my other job that's not related to this.
Literally just
And
watch
It's been a
concrete pour.
big concrete pour.
Well, the superintendent needed help. He's been doing it, and
But it was
just
big,
along
right?
these same lines. I mean, it's a few hundred yards.
Now,
of
did you have
concrete.
to graduate from watching paint dry? Is that like the next natural progression?
I was there as a warm body to make sure no one died. That's what I meant by
There you go.
watching it for. But anyways, I had to get up at 1:30 a.m. to be there at 2 because that's when you start pouring concrete when you're in the summer, or otherwise it'll be too hot and it'll cure too fast. But that was way harder than it should be.
I probably just wouldn't have gone to sleep. I'd be
just
like, I'm
because
just gonna stay up.
I think I tried to go to bed around 7, and I mean that was not happening. So
You're just like, sleep. Do it, body. Go to sleep now.
I don't even think melatonin can help you there.
But going from a very consistent 7.5 to 8 hours to 4.5 to 5 hours, that's very challenging to do.
Yeah, I will say my consistency has made me much less resilient in sleep. It could also be age related, but like we talked about this on a podcast recently. Like, does our over optimization make us less resilient in sleep? I think that's absolutely the case.
Yeah,
because if you give me like 5 hours of sleep, or you have me wake up randomly at 3 a.m. for a flight that day, that's going to be a bad day, and I'm going to be exhausted. So I do think that's one area where over optimization hurts your resiliency, but it's probably worth it for the health gains in the long run, right? So I think it's fine.
Just take a red eye flight every once in a while, and you'll be, that's I seem to always have like 2 red eye flights a year for some reason.
Same, at least 1 or 2 for sure, and it sucks every time. All right, number 4, exercise. And I will say, if you want to make sure that I'm going to have trouble sleeping at night, don't allow me to work out that day. That is a great way for me to like wonder why I'm up at like 10:30, 11 o'clock. Like, tired. I'm still not tired. And that's it. I have to move. Like it's not optional for me. I have to move. I have to exercise, and it has to be kind of hard. I can't just go walk and get a good night's sleep. And this is for me. Like there's a lot of bad sleep genetics in my family. Like on my dad's side, real bad. Him, my brother, all of his his mom, dad, all that, like it's real bad. They all have horrible like sleep patterns, and they can't fall asleep, and I've luckily fought it off, right? But I think I have a few of those tendencies to where it's like my body wants to be a bad sleeper, but I force it into submission by hard training and all these other things that we're talking about. But sometimes it can still be difficult. So if I don't train, I'm not going to sleep very well. That's for sure.
I would agree with you. If there have been days like where we're out and about and we're doing things, or we're visiting family or something like that, and you can't get a workout in, and you may be tired, but like I have definitely just sat there for an hour to an hour and a half before because I didn't train or work out or do something really hard that day. Like you're saying, just kind of floating, going by. Like you've got to be doing something, or you're not going to burn enough energy to need it. Like, almost whether you need it or not.
Yeah, it could be sometimes slippery slope where like maybe one night on the weekend you didn't get enough sleep because, whether you were drinking or something, your sleep just wasn't that great. And you wake up the next day and you're like, you know what? I'm just exhausted today. I don't want to do much. I'm just going to it's going to be a lazy day. We're just going to kind of sit around, do some things here and there. And then you do that and you're like, cool, I'm relaxed. Now it's time to go to bed. And you're just like, nope, wide awake because you didn't do anything that day. I've definitely had those days. So where I don't train every day. So even on the days that I don't train, I still have to make sure that I do something. So we'll still go on a walk with the kid or something to get outside, or it might not be training, but I might do some chores or something that day to where I'm still like exhausting myself in some way, whether it's my brain, my body, or whatnot, doing something and not just sitting around, because it's just going to be much harder to sleep that day. Even I could even feel super tired at like 7:30, like, man, I'm so ready for bed, and then I lay down and 20 minutes later I'm just like, well, I don't think I'm going to be able to fall asleep for a while.
Yeah. I do notice that if I spend a lot of time outside, that helps with my sleep. And that is typically more like vacation, where I'm actually outside for maybe like 8 to 10 hours, like the whole day. And, I'm outside more than I'm inside. I always sleep better. And I don't know if that's the sun in my eyes or the activity or whatever, but I do sleep a lot better with that. So yeah, exercise, do some hard training. I feel like if I had a sleep disorder, that's all I would do. That'd be like my first thing. Because I'd be like, I'm going to exercise for 4 hours today and see if I still have trouble sleeping tonight. Like that would be my first step. And while I think excessive exercise is not great for you, I think not sleeping is worse. So I would just do whatever I had to. I'm like, well, run a marathon today, body. See if you can't sleep after that. And just go that direction.
Have we covered or talked about? I feel like we've come up before about constant high intense training, how it could affect your sleep, because of
No, I
how much
thought
it
high
might
intensity every day
stress
was
too
great.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, if you could constantly vary your high intensity done on a daily basis with some functional movements, it's like the ideal fitness for you. Okay. Going on to number 5, down regulation. And I want to start with a story because I want to just tell you how ridiculous I can get. So a few weeks ago, let's just say it was a stressful time. I had a lot going on. I never know when I'm actually stressed. And honest to God, that is the truth. You couldn't just be like, hey, are you stressed right now? I'd be like, I don't know. I don't think so. I think I'm all right. But my body, like subconsciously, is stressed. And how I know when I'm stressed is if my sleep goes to shit, but I have no other reason for it. And that just means my brain's busy. I'm thinking about a lot. I'm processing a lot of information. And so, again, I like to force my body into submission, but I didn't do it with hard training. This is what I did. Do you guys know what an acupressure mat is?
I'm
Like I've heard the
picturing
term.
a guy laying on nails.
It's basically a nail mat. So they're short mats about the length of your torso, and they have, I don't know, a couple hundred little plastic circles on them, and these circles have spikes. There's 8,000 spikes on this thing, and then you lay down on it. So it's like acupuncture, but nothing goes into you, right? So it's acupressure, and it's very painful. Don't get me wrong. I thought I was like. I showed Emily my back the first time. Like, am I bleeding? It feels like I'm bleeding. And I wasn't bleeding. So great way for relaxation. It's painful, whatever. So I did that. It relaxes you if you do it for like 20 minutes. The first 3 minutes is hell. So do the acupressure mat. These are cheap. You can get them on Amazon. Doesn't really matter what kind. It's plastic spikes. So I did that for 20 minutes. And then I did the sauna for 15 minutes. And then I did the cold plunge for like 3 to 5 minutes. Then I got back in the sauna for 10 minutes. And I slept like a baby that night. And no, I can't do that every night. I don't have the time for it. But I did it that night and it worked because it was more of like an experiment. So the point being, you might have to find some down regulation techniques. It doesn't have to be that insane. But do you guys implement any kind of down regulation techniques at the end of your day to try and wind down and get to sleep? Or are you just like, jump in the bed and you're good to go?
None of that sounds down to me.
No, it's amazing. That's like, it's mental down regulation. Like my brain is like it just goes, and I have to stop it somehow, either through like meditation or those kind of things. I really have to like stop it from doing what it wants to do.
So generally speaking, I'm able to just go to sleep. But like those times you said meditation. I don't know if it's really meditation, but there's like just a breathing pattern that I'll do where I'll breathe in and I'll slowly let the exhale be longer than the inhale, and I do that for, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. And then I mean, I don't know how many times I've just done that for a few breaths, and immediately, not almost immediately, I'd say within a few minutes of that, going straight to sleep and just focusing on the breath for a minute.
Yeah, one
And
really
a lot of
popular
times,
one
yeah.
and also studied is the 4-7-8 breath root pattern. It's in a lot of breathing apps, and you can also just try it on your own. So 4-second inhale through the nose, 7-second hold, 8-second exhale through the mouth. It's supposed to be like the most proven one for like falling asleep or getting back to sleep if you're having trouble. That's a good one.
I definitely would struggle with anything breathing. My body has like an instant fight or flight response with it. I just so
With breathing?
Yeah, it's like breathing.
That's so interesting.
I've tried to do it like certain counting and stuff. It's just like, yeah, I don't know.
Can you meditate? Have you ever tried meditation?
No.
Is it kind of the same? You've never tried it. So
I mean, I could just sit there and close my eyes for a while, but I don't know how. Like
meditation is like no. Yeah, you haven't meditated. It's fine.
no, I
haven't. That's so weird. So like you sit there and you try to breathe. This, I think the same exact thing would happen if you legitimately tried to meditate. You'd be like, get out of here. Like I gotta do something else.
I mean,
that means you should run towards it, Joe. That's the discomfort you need to run towards and kill. Because I think it would be.
I've definitely tried to do those before. Like I haven't done by that count. It's more been like just 7 on each. 7, 7, 7, whatever, and I last for a little bit, but it's still like during I'm like fighting it hard for a while, and I only last a few minutes, and it's fine, but I just breathing ladders are really hard for that reason.
Get on my acupressure mat. That's what you need.
Yeah, when you told me about that, I'm like, man, last time I was there, you made me get in the cold tub. Now you got spikes you're gonna make me lay on next time I come over.
It's gonna be great.
Can't wait to hear about the next trip. That'll be good.
When are you coming over?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was gonna do that bike race, but I tried to die several times this year. So
no, that's cool. I'm not doing it anyway. I'll do it next year though.
Yeah. So down regulation for us, I don't know how much this counts, but I think it I guess it'd be along the same lines of which we've started a couple years ago. We read before we go to bed. So like an hour before bed, we read. So we're laying in bed. It's dark. It's cool. There's no light coming in our eyes. We read on our Kindles, and it's like very, very little dim lights. It's basically still just like reading off of a normal book. That how soft the light is, and it's like kind of a warm light too. So we read for like an hour, and so we're completely relaxed. We're cool. We're just we're still stimulating our brains, but it's still like after an hour of reading, you get kind of tired, and by a certain amount of time, we're just like, all right, yeah, now I'm ready to go to bed, and we roll over, and we're pretty tired, pretty ready to go to bed at that point. So a mixture of time, but that's just kind of how now it's just associated with going to sleep. We always read before we go to bed. And sometimes when we're on vacation and stuff, we might not read as much just because we're so tired. But I noticed that it still takes me a little while to fall asleep if I don't read before bed sometimes.
Got it. So Trampus just like lights out, good to go. Joe, a normal person's way to fall asleep, read before bed. I'm the insane person with
you're doing
all sorts of crazy stuff.
All
and again,
the degrees.
That's not my normal routine. That took me like almost an hour. I don't have an hour to like down regulate, and I wouldn't want that life if I did. But I will do the sauna most nights, though. I think that really helps with down regulation. I'm doing that at least like five nights a week. So I think that would probably be my consistent down regulation.
I feel like maybe it was in Why We Sleep. Someone said that like you want to be cool when you go to sleep, but it's actually good to get a warm shower because it heats you up, and then
it's like
it
sounds controversial.
Yeah, it starts to bring you down. Contradictory. It starts to bring you down to a cooler level, and you can just kind of keep going if the room's cold enough.
Yeah, and that's actually why when I mentioned I went hot sauna, cold tub, back to sauna was to heat my body back up to like get it more relaxed. I don't want to like hop in a cold pool and then try and go to sleep. That's not going to work. So, but for some reason, it like exhausts you, those extremes. That's part of the reason. It's just like you feel so relaxed after going back and forth. So that's why I was doing that. But yeah, you're right. Hot is better at night over cold. All right. That's it. Go get some sleep, everybody. Read the book by Matthew Walker. This isn't a book review. Didn't we do a book review on that one?
Yes.
Yeah,
I believe so.
that's episode. You can go check it out on the podcast and check out that book review. And we will get into the Meet Yourself Saturday workout for the day. Trampus has it.
Yep, the workout is heavy load, long distance. For max meters, bear hug, carry, sandbag in 60 minutes. Recruit 20 to 30 pounds, establish 30 to 40, and competitor 40 to 50 pounds. And that's it.
What was competitor?
40 to 50 pounds.
Okay, and walk for an hour.
Yeah.
This is like my favorite one. I think everybody knows that.
Bear hug.
No, it's not. What?
No, it's my favorite.
Okay, no. Today.
I think I
Pretty
say
sure
that
you
about
had
every
a-
single Meet
yeah.
Yourself Saturday workout.
Sure, I've heard you say that about another one before. Okay.
I mean, it wasn't on your top 5 list, I don't think, when we did that last year.
Ah, dang! I've been exposed. Like I had to rank order my kids. They would never let me live it down. Not one time, he said. Okay. What are the tips on this one? I don't feel like there's a lot that you can get into with this one, but Joe, how can we game?
I was gonna say I gained it last time, but it was still pretty dang hard. So when we did it, I remember doing this a while back, and we did it with my slam balls. So that was actually a lot harder because slam balls are just tiny and rubber. But I'd rather do it with a sandbag. What I did before we did it was 5 minutes on, 1 minute off. So we'd carry for 5 minutes and then set it down, rest for 1 minute, and then pick it back up, bear hug, carry for 5 minutes, and rest for 1 minute. So that with weighted carries, once you hit like a fatigue point, you're kind of just like done. So if you just carry for as long as you can and then rest minimally and then keep carrying it, then you're going to reach a point where you're picking it up for like 30 seconds and then dropping it. But if you start the rest early, then overall for the entire hour, for however long it is, you're going to be able to, your max distance will be longer if you prepared yourself earlier on to a better pace and have that scheduled rest every 5 minutes, 1 minute rest, 5 minutes, 1 minute rest. That sort of kind of a circuit, and staying somewhat consistent through there. And it definitely gets harder the longer you go on, but that 1 minute rest, or even early on, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I do think you can change up the apparatus with this one, I think, if you wanted to, because I feel like heavy load, long distance is best if you are in an actual situation to where you don't have an option to like not finish the hour or the distance. Like I mentioned that I went on vacation. I had to carry Eleanor for, let's see, last time I told the story, I think it was 5 miles. So this time it'll be 15 miles. I had to carry her for 15 miles uphill. And, I didn't have an option to not do it because no one else was carrying her. She couldn't walk anymore. Right. So I just had to do it. And that's like a great way to test it. So I think if you could just like take a kettlebell or sandbag out to a trail by your house somewhere that has like a good turnaround point or something, it's a lot like that the Iron Mile mentality, like getting out somewhere to where it's like, oh, I don't really have an option to not come back now. No one can pick me up. I think this is great for that as well. Like going 30 minutes out on a trail with a kettlebell or like a sandbag, and then just having to make your way back. I think that's a great way to like push yourself too, because you'll go faster the 30 minutes out. And it'll take you like 50 minutes to get back. So it'll really screw with your head when that happens as well. So I think that'd be good.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is do it out and back. Try not to go by your house, or if you're going out somewhere, do it. Try not to go by your vehicle every time. Really, every
If
10
you like
minutes.
really want to screw with your head, just go back and forth inside of your garage for an hour. But
so you can
don't allow
see
yourself to sit
where
down.
the sandbag sits. There's where the sandbag sits. But I can't put it down yet. You're gonna get a lot of weird looks, probably. I remember doing this, and a little old lady down the street said, "Son, I think you're trying to kill yourself," or something like that. It's fantastic. Yeah, but no, that's
And
the best
you
tip.
responded, "If I don't kill comfort,
Yeah,
comfort will kill me."
It was probably more like,
thanks.
All right, guys. Obviously, we don't have a ton of tips here. This one is a great Meet Yourself Saturday workout because I think that it tests every part of mental toughness, because it's just like kind of a time domain. And you don't really have an excuse Like you can't, oh, I think I'm injured. Like, yeah, your back's going to hurt, your upper back, whatever. But that's just like part of carrying a load. It's going to be uncomfortable and you're just going to have to do it. So it's pretty safe. Even the pains that you're feeling, the weights aren't really heavy enough to probably cause true injury, especially if you're listening to the appropriate fitness level and weight that we've laid out for you. So relatively safe mental toughness practice here. So just get it done and push yourself and make it uncomfortable. Get a distance you didn't think that you could. If you've done this one before, that's awesome. I always love when you have a benchmark to compete against yourself because you can go try and beat yourself the next time, right? And I think that's what you should do. If you've already done this once, make sure you go back and look how far you made it. So that's it. You guys have anything else?
Nope.
Cool.
For me.
Well, for all of our athletes out there listening to this, thank you guys so much for listening. If you could share it with a friend, give us a 5-star review on your podcast player, we would greatly appreciate it. We are on YouTube. If you aren't subscribed to the channel already, check out what we're doing there. For anybody who is new to the community, to the podcast, whatever, thanks for listening. You can go sign up for a 14-day free trial at garagegymathlete.com. We would love to have you. And remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you. Athlete Podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.